Tim Dillon and Ben Avery comedy documentary, courtesy of Lemon Bar Radio. Let's check this out. I'm curious to see what this guy has to say, because the Tim Dillon Ben Avery breakup was quite sad, because I think this version of Ben Avery's been killing it lately, right? This version of Ben Avery, where he's a lot more in front of the camera, he's a bit, he's a comedian in his own right, he does fucking great shows and whatever it may be. I think this version of Ben Avery would be amazing on the Tim Dillon show, because on Tim Dillon show he was a little bit more of a quiet co-host, right? He was a little bit more reserved, he was a little bit more demure, he wasn't as big as a personality, he didn't have as much confidence as he has now. But I think Ben Avery now on Tim Dillon's show would actually revive that show, would take it to another level. But that would also mean Tim being okay with Ben Avery being his own guy, having his own fans and whatever. And I don't think he would. I think Tim likes somebody next to him who is clearly the underling, he wants to be the one in charge. Same goes for his, kind of working partnership or relationship with Ray Kump. Ray Kump, as funny as he can be, he's definitely like, he knows he's like on the pecking order, he's way lower than Tim, and Tim kind of likes that, he knows that, and there's that clear hierarchy. But I would love to see Ben Avery back on Tim Dillon's show, but it's not going to happen anytime soon. But let's watch this documentary and see what it's saying.
Industry has always been filled with egomaniacs. Not only are people with mental illness drawn to it in the first place, but when you're starting off, it seems like it takes a level of delusion to keep putting yourself through such a grueling process. So being a self-aggrandizing narcissist can actually be very helpful, because you're able to take a lot more rejection than the average person without ever really second-guessing yourself. And although having a big ego can definitely be a bad thing, it seems like it's usually necessary in order to become successful. But when you find someone who's willing to set aside their ego and be a part of something bigger than themselves, they can be an incredible asset.
Agreed.
They can make the difference between a mediocre product and a good one.
Mm-hmm.
In this video, I'm talking about Ben Avery's journey, from being thought of as just another podcast producer.
Even the settings, to be fair, the backdrops, these are quite cool too. I did, because I remember there was a time where I tried to do this, but remember when Tim would just record randomly in random Airbnbs, like really swanky ones? I wonder if this is another Ben Avery idea. This is really cool, they do this. I really enjoyed these. Just pop up at some random Airbnb. Some of it was obviously on the road, but I do love the fact that sometimes he would just, book a random Airbnb to record these pod out of. I thought that was really fucking cool.
To having a fan base and successful podcast of his own. Now, Ben grew up with a very conservative Christian family in North Texas. Here's a clip of him talking about what his household was like as a kid.
Were you the missionary type of guy?
Yeah, so
wow.
Well, especially the family dynamic of all of these people, because they all feel like strangers. This is all interesting to me. I don't feel bad. I'm starting my own family. I'm having a baby in like 2 weeks.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm hoping it's mine.
Yeah.
No, my wife is like 32 weeks pregnant right now. So she's...
I thought you were saying 32% shirts.
So like I'm not a guy who holds on to this stuff. This is what it felt like growing up. It felt like we were all strangers in the house. And we were all Christian, and we all is like hardcore conservative Christian. No dancing, no instruments in the church, no clapping. Everyone was going to hell except for our sect. Okay, right. So it was like 1 degree removed from like, juggling like rattlesnakes and shit.
Right.
But because communication was so...
Yeah, I know this type of church. I went to a church similar to that. It's funny how the most unhinged people come from those type of environments, isn't it? It's funny how the most unhinged people, some of the funniest people you will know, come from those very constraining, constrictive, controlling, manipulative environments, I wonder what it is. And also the whores. So many whores come out of that sort of upbringing and environment as well. So many.
Restricted in their house. It seems like Ben and his brothers kind of developed their own unique sense of humor and found other, less conventional ways of expressing themselves.
remember Reservoir Dogs. It blew my mind when I was 16 because I put in the VHS tape player after my parents went to bed, and I was like, "You can make movies non-linear. You can have cussing in them." Like I've never seen.
You have only watched like the
that.
10 Commandments.
Yeah.
Dude, I never seen anything hyper violent like that.
Right.
And I've read the Bible.
What year was this?
So I was 16. So this was 2000 and
Oh wow.
6 or 7, I guess.
Wow.
And then that changed everything for me. And then I started writing tons of screenplays. That's what I started writing. And all I wanted to, so then I started making more sketches and putting them on YouTube and just writing them all the time. Then I started performing in the pep rallies and at the talent show at my high school. Started doing stand-up. I got banned from the only open mic in my hometown.
Wow.
And I was just constantly, I just wanted to make stuff. And I didn't realize I was trying to like express myself, right?
Right.
Eventually, Ben managed to get himself an internship at Funny or Die, which allowed him to move out to LA and break into the
Legendary
comedy
channel.
scene. And although he was finally able to meet like-minded people and gain experience in the field that he was so interested in, he still found himself having to work minimum wage jobs in order to get by. He wasn't able to
Put the
become
fries in
fully
the bag, Trump.
self-sufficient until he started producing podcasts.
Yeah, and I think I was making $12 an hour at the dog food store, minimum wage in LA. So as soon as I was making like $1,800 a month, which was more than what I was making at the dog food store, I quit that job and I was like, I can't believe this. I have like financial free. I felt like I was just walking around town like fucking swing. I felt like it's that scene in Dumb and Dumber when they come in with the tuxedos and they're swinging the canes and shit. Like I thought I was like Mr. Hodge.
When Ben was introduced to Tim Dillon, I think he was already working on 12 other podcasts.
12?
However, I would imagine that he quickly realized that Tim was different from the rest of the people he was working with. He was an incredibly ambitious comedian and a very talented podcaster. And as the two of them got to know each
Probably a better podcast than he is comedian, unfortunately. As much as I loved him, he sounded like not the greatest.
other, he started to involve Ben more and more in the projects that he was working on outside of the podcast. So not only does this person that Ben started to work with have all this potential, but he's starting to see the same potential in Ben, which I'm sure was incredibly validating for him. In my opinion, this is the point in Tim's career where he's the most appealing. He's still incredibly hungry for new opportunities, and his frustration with not being as far ahead as he thinks he should be gives his rants substance. He hasn't gotten to the point where he's just reinforcing an image that he's created of himself, and it still seems like he actually has passion for the things that he rants about. He was still working on his first full-hour special, and even talked about producing and starring in his own comedy film. And although his podcast was...
I wonder if all of these ideas is what actually made them split up. Is what actually got fucking Tim Dillon the hump. Maybe Tim Dillon deep down just wanted a person that was happy to just take pictures. Happy to take pictures and record. But not somebody that wanted to do all this. I mean, it's just like a straight up, hey, can you record? Can you do this? Yes. But I wonder if that made Tim feel a little bit uneasy. That he had so many other side projects he was working on and shit. I wonder.
was incredibly entertaining, it hadn't yet defined him as a comedian. It really did seem like the sky was the limit for Tim, and Ben was the person that he had chosen to accompany him on his journey, or so it seemed at the time.
Who's your best friend?
Ben.
Okay, but
What do you mean?
This is when Whitney was somewhat tolerable as well. This is one of the last moments, last phases where Whitney was somewhat tolerable, somewhat funny. Until we found out what we found out from people like Ashley Cummings and shit. But this is one of the last moments I remember where Whitney was okay. I don't think she's been on Tim Dillon's show for a while as well, by the way. I'm not sure if they're on good terms anymore either.
what happens when there's no pie left, as you would say?
When I don't do the show anymore?
What happens when
Me and
his
Ben will
wife
be
finally says, him or me?
No, he makes money. He fucks his wife. How long do you need to fuck someone? 12 hours? Like, what are you talking about? You can fuck every night.
What is your dynamic with
12
Ben's
hours.
wife? Is there any tension?
We have sex. They bring me into the bed once a month.
So
Ben
good.
is truly the only thing I care about on earth. Like,
It's very true.
Ben is the only thing I care about on earth.
That's so sweet.
Literally, there's a few people in this room and you. I would watch you all burn alive. if I knew that I could save Ben. I wouldn't even try
Wow.
to save women.
And then imagine fast forwarding to how it ended when Ben finally left. And then there was that famous episode, I think it's still up somewhere, where Tim Dillon and Ray Kump are going in on him. On the episode. They ended up deleting it. But no, it was Ray Kump actually going more in on Ben, because it seemed like Ray Kump had a bit of a problem with Ben Avery. Maybe he was jealous that Ray, you know, he was so close to Tim and he wasn't. I don't know. But yeah, it's funny how things played out. At one point, Tim was literally in love with Ben. Another time, he wasn't so much.
No, Ben is my brother and best friend. I mean, Ben is the only person really in my life that I know will stay there forever, because we built the thing from the ground up.
Also, he has Stockholm syndrome. What choice does he have? He is a beaten man that you have blackballed in the business instead of anyone hires him.
I know, he could be getting you out of a tub. I know, I get it. It would
Jesus
be much
Christ.
better. It would be much better. I understand. But I don't think the fact that I work with him invalidates the friendship.
Okay.
This kid believed in me when no one believed in me.
agree.
When you didn't, when Joe
I still
Rogan
don't.
didn't. Agreed. When none of you knew who I was and didn't really care.
Yo, big up Templar345. I see you too. I'm live on Twitter too, by the way. In case some of you motherfuckers care or give a shit, I'm also live on the old Twitter. Big up Templar3. Was it 345? Imagine being ripped like that. Damn, she's toned. How much? I'd have to give up croissants forever, innit? I'd have to give up croissants forever, sandwiches forever, like biscuits forever, you know, donuts forever, Kinder Buenos. I have to give up a lot to be that tight in the waist, isn't it? Like, imagine having a stomach like that. Imagine your stomach looking like that on the daily. Just walking around with your stomach being that tense, that hard. Would you like it? Let me mute. That's a lot of work, isn't it? That's the thing. I think the older you get, the more you realize. Big up Quelle, exactly. I wouldn't even know what to do with that rapper. Exactly. Like, I don't know. You start to realize that although you probably could do this if you wanted to, the work it required to keep this up, to be consistent with this type of physique, is just, for most people, it's not worth it, you know? Yeah. big up Canada. Big up Canada in the stream chat. But yeah, Jesus Christ, like, yeah. Fair play to this girl, man. Fair play. But anyway, I'm live on Twitter at the moment. If you want to see me, I'm live on Twitter, as you can see there. I'm live on Twitter. Nice 70 viewers, actually. Not too bad. 70 viewers. So check me out on Twitter. I'm live over there too.
Ben thought I was really funny.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But with all this talk of Ben being irreplaceable and having an equal role in building the show from the ground up, it still seems like he was ultimately viewed as an employee. Now, anybody who's familiar with him knows that Tim is likely to berate any...
Yeah, big up MK. I like Dadbod AZ. Yeah, that's all ending. End of April, Dadbod AZ is not going to be here anymore. You're going to see fucking Stefan Diggs physique AZ. End of April, I'm going to weigh the same as Stefan Diggs weighs. I think he weighs like 180 pounds. We're both 6 foot, and I'm going to weigh 180 by the end of April. So the Dadbod AZ will no longer be around. So keep, enjoy this roundness. Enjoy this roundness that you're seeing right in front of you, because by the end of April, I'm gonna be a little twink. I'm gonna be in my twink era. I'm gonna be a little twink by the end of April.
Anyone who gets in his way or even slightly annoys him. And Ben acted as a type of lightning rod for these attacks on the show. And although Ben agreed to play this role, and it was all in the context
Big up Cole. I often go to the gym and just say, nah, not today, mate. Love it.
of a bit, it seems like the abuse would continue even when the cameras weren't rolling. Ben was subject to being called useless and stupid off the show as well, with Tim holding things like his salary and position over his head. Tim would even go as far as firing Ben and then rehiring him with a higher salary to make up for it. Trying to make up for abusive behavior with money is a common theme in Tim's life.
People that aren't willing to make like any sort of emotional sacrifice, typically they want to throw money at their problems when everybody else is like, no, we don't really care about your money. We kind of want you to just say, like, we want you to be a human being, actually.
Right.
How about you be a human being and treat me like a human being?
Yeah.
I don't want your fucking money. In fact, it's patronizing.
It also seems like Tim would throw Ben under the bus for things that weren't even necessarily his fault. A good example of this is when he chose Ben to produce his comedy special, and when it wasn't received as well as he would have liked, he blamed it on Ben's editing skills rather than his own material. It seems like there are times that he would use Ben as a sort of buffer, so he wouldn't have to be held accountable for his own merit. It was definitely a toxic relationship, and I think Tim kind of made Ben feel like nobody else could find him useful or appreciate what he brings to the table. And as the Tim Dillon Show grew in popularity, it seems like Tim's desire to do things outside of the podcast started to fade away. And although it's completely understandable for Tim to stick with what works after almost a decade of trying to find success, it still completely redefined Ben's role in their relationship. It reduced him from being Tim's partner who worked behind the scenes on all his projects to just being Tim's podcast producer. And it's obvious that Ben wanted to achieve more than that in his own career. What had once been an
I don't buy that. I think the abuse and because Tim was really kind of cunty to Ben on if you listen to some of the recordings, if Ben got something wrong, he'd really chew him out, he'd make him feel uncomfortable, like almost like verging on bullying. But I think it came from a place of love. I think he loved him so much he didn't really know how to like display it or to like say it, you know? So he kind of just treated him like shit. Almost like they were in love, almost like he was in love with Ben. I don't think he really was, but I think that was where it came from a place of love. But I don't think he ultimately got fired because Ben just had too many ideas that Tim wasn't interested in. I think he mostly got fired because of the bullying, innit? Of the constant abuse. He just couldn't handle it anymore. He couldn't put up with it anymore. And then that was it. I don't think it was anything else. That's my interpretation of it anyway, at least.
exciting new opportunity that presented endless possibilities to Ben had now become a predictable, dead-end job. Not only was his work relationship toxic, but he had become ultimately defined in the eyes of the public by the person that he had grown to resent. I think he wanted to be known to the world as more than just Tim Dillon's podcast producer. If you consider all the different factors that I've talked about in this video, then it's...
Which is a big jump, to be fair, because I wonder... I know he makes a lot on Patreon. I know Ben makes a lot of... I've got to put the fucking belt thing on Patreon as well. I'm fucking slacking. But I know he makes a lot of money on Patreon, but I wonder if he actually... if he was making more just being a producer for Tim than he is from all the other stuff he's doing now. I wonder what the level is. Because I think Tim Dillon was paying him very, very well. Which I think is what played into some of the bad treatment he was getting. I think the guy mentioned it. Tim definitely wants to have people where because he pays you a lot or because he pays or whatever, he also feels like that gives him the right to talk to you however or to treat you however, whichever way he wants to treat you. So I'll be interested to know if Ben's salary as a producer at Tim Dillon was anywhere close to what he makes now doing his own thing.
It's pretty easy to understand why Ben decided not to come back to the Tim Dillon show. But regardless of how motivated he was still making the decision to give up his only source of income and turn his back on the only person that he had been associated with in the eyes of the public. It was an incredibly brave decision to make, and I think it speaks volumes about his character that he was willing to risk almost everything he had in his career to do what he actually wanted to do. And a lot of people seem to notice the difference once he left. To a lot of us, he wasn't just the producer. He was a fundamental part of the show, whose friendship with Tim brought levity and depth to the otherwise cynical and almost shallow theme of the Tim Dillon show.
Yeah, what's that one say there? Ben wasn't just a giggler, he made the show. The ongoing jokes about Ben sabotaging everything made it much better. Ben, if you see this, we love you. Love it.
Now, I've talked about this a little bit before, but it kind of seems like Tim Dillon reads the people around him and tweaks his personality based on what he thinks will get the best reaction. The Tim Dillon that you get on his own show is slightly different from the one that you would get on
sure,
JRE
for sure.
or a show like Matt and Shane's Secret Podcast.
For sure. Agree with that one.
And although this is a great quality to have as a comedian, it kind of makes you wonder who he actually is as a person. And even though Ben probably is the best example of someone that Tim's made to feel special in order to keep them around, he's certainly not the only one that Tim's done this to. I think that Tim is extremely good at making people feel validated or special for even being in his presence.
The women that listen to the show, they're on a higher vibrational plane than the rest of them. That's it. Sorry. Same with the gay people listening to the show, men. Anyone who's listening to the show, you are on a higher vibrational plane than the rest of society. You are better than they are. And that's why you should gamble.
Now I know that this is just him trying to be entertaining while he's reading an ad for a gambling website, but I honestly do believe that this is a major undertone throughout his podcast. And although these do kind of seem like calculated and almost pragmatic ways of making and maintaining friendships, I honestly don't know if he does this with the intent of using people or if it's simply the only way he knows how to interact with them. At some point during Tim's childhood, his parents started taking him on different acting auditions, where he was actually able to land a few prominent roles. He was on an episode of Sesame Street and in a musical that traveled around the country. So it definitely seems like his feelings of being special were reinforced at an early age.
Folks, when I was a child, I was rightly told I had a lot of promise. I was told
Most of us got told that. I got told that at one point. I was one of the idiots that believed it though. I was one of those donuts that believed it. I was believed I was what is it, gifted. Oh, that was a good time, man. That was a good time. When niggas thought I was special. When really, the reason why they thought I was special because I could read good aloud. You know, you're gonna be special. You're gifted. It's like, really? Am I gifted though? Just because I know how to fucking write an essay. I know how to construct a sentence. I know how to correctly use periods and shit. I know how to write a paragraph. You know, like honestly, the bare minimum. Sometimes in school, you show the bare minimum. You do the bare minimum effort. Some people start adoring you like a fucking genius. Like, bruh, I'm not a genius. I just hit fucking return on the keyboard.
I was very bright. I was told that I was going to be lucky, and that my luck was going to be earned, and that I was going to be special. I was going to be different. I stood apart from the pack. Many of you were not told that, and that's because that is not the case for many of you. Many of you are not special. You're not different.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Tim.
But even with all this encouragement from Tim's parents, it doesn't really seem like they actually cared about who he was as a person, and didn't really have any emotional involvement in his life besides vaguely telling him that he was special. It's why he's always talking about how uninvolved boomer parents are in their children's lives. And so I think that this mixture of his parents telling him that he was different without actually celebrating the things that made him different led to this kind of calculated and removed way that he goes about making people like him. But someone who can never reveal the more vulnerable sides of themselves will always have a hard time making friendships with genuine people.
Oh, interesting observation though. Interesting observation. I think, like I said, it kind of goes off what I was saying earlier about how maybe Tim's way of like showing how much he appreciated and loved Ben was by being a dick to him because he doesn't really know how else to act because he's never really had it himself. Yeah, really good point. Really, 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 really good point though.
And the few genuine people you do manage to befriend will eventually start to wonder if they even know who you are as a person. And Ben has probably come the closest out of anyone to finding out who Tim Dillon actually is. Maybe Tim started to lash out at him and resent him because he was afraid of what Ben might find. Now look, I know that I'm 2 years late to this whole thing, and it's already been covered in multiple videos. But I think that these two make great examples for the different types of people that get into this industry. Whether it be the different motivations that they had for getting into it in the first place, or how they reacted differently when they had to face the stark realities of the job.
Like I said, I also feel like there's a bit of this element of like Tim maybe not just being happy with sharing a bit of the limelight. I wonder if that also played a part, you know? Tim not being really, really interested in sharing the limelight or seeing Ben Avery as a somewhat of an equal or whatever, you know? Just looking at him as like glorified, you know, producer, whatever type of thing. But I'm not too sure if he really did, you know? If he was really comfortable or ready for Ben Avery to step on his own and do his own thing, or maybe opening for some shows doing stand up. I don't know. I get the feeling not though. Tim doesn't strike me as a person that plays well with others, let's just say that.
And I don't even really think that Tim Dillon is all that bad of a person either. His relationship with Ben was definitely toxic, but when it comes to comedians that are shitty people, he's probably not even in the top 100. And I don't think that sticking with what works and doubling down on the podcasting warrants any judgment either. The special that he came out with recently wasn't all that great in my opinion, but at least it was kind of unique. And it was interesting to watch him try something new for the first time in a while. I hope he continues to do that. But when someone risks almost everything they have to do what they want to do with the people that they want to be with, it makes you root for them.
Exactly.
I think that this is a big reason why Lemon Party fans enjoy the show so much. It's obvious that Devin and Jace view Ben as a friend or brother first and a business associate second. The three of them have a great connection, and you can tell that they actually want to be in the room with each other.
Cool.
I'm so happy that guys like Shane Gillis and John McKeever, I'm glad that they're getting their due to create something funny. And Tommy Pope, they surround themselves with really funny people. And as Shane has risen in the comedy space, he hasn't shed his close friends that he's created his comedic language with to rise to the top. That's really the secret to Shane's success, is he's not shedding people. And by the way, he's very talented. And
that's a really good point. He's mentioning Shane Gillis. That's something you can say with all certainty, that Shane Gillis doesn't mind sharing the limelight, doesn't mind sharing the stage. He's happy to put his friends on, you know what I mean? So you can never hate on him for that regard. That was nice to hear. Really, really nice to hear. Or that was interesting to hear and makes sense about the things that I've also observed from Ben and Tim's breakup.
Would be great on his own. Right. I'm not saying he's only good because of the people he surrounds himself with.
He just remembers his friends.
Yeah, and because of that, we get stuff like the Tires sketches. We get stuff like Gillian Keeves. We get stuff where it's we get to see him on SNL and all these other things. And I don't know. It's really cool what guys like that are doing. And I feel like I have a little island over here of guys I really love and I really care about.
Right.
That I think are so talented, and I'm so happy that I get to work with them. I love my brother so much, and I was just waiting for people to realize how funny he was.
Amazing.
And it's so funny. It makes me so happy to do a show with him, so people can finally see like how talented he is. And my friend Devin, who's been making sketches for 12 years in LA and not having really anything
Devin
to show for it, for people to finally give it up for him,
right?
And people can see how funny he is. And being around them till 4 or 5 a.m. every night for years has made us all funnier.
Right.
We've been doing Lemon Party for 8 years.
Crazy, isn't it? Like, so he's built an entire community around him of other comedians, personality, clout chasers, whatever they may be. I kind of like it. I'm not gonna lie, kind of like it.
I had lunch with George Kimmel like last week, and he goes, "How do you guys do it on the show? Is it pre-written? Is it?" He goes, "Did you take improv classes?" I go, "No, we're just holding microphones for the first time." Like we've been doing this every night till 5 a.m. screaming and having takes on things and opinions and just trying to make each other laugh.
Right.
And we've only got better at it by doing it.
Yeah, I can't wait till I do that myself, by the way. When that studio comes, is the first thing I'm doing. When that studio comes, I think I'm going to be pulling like proper like 9 to 6, you know, streams and shit. Especially on the day, during the day, maybe do one half Taz, one half Manu show. But that's for sure what I'll be doing when I get my little studio set up. You get me?
Millions and millions of times, the chemistry just gets better and better.
Right.
And now we can go out on a live show
totally unscripted. We just did it in LA to a show, and we looked at each other backstage, and we go, we got to do an hour and a half. I'm like, do you have anything planned?
What are we doing?
Do you have anything planned? We're like, I got fucking nothing. We're like, all right. And we went out there and we just started improvising things, and it just built into something, and it became interactive, and it was a great show.
Dude, that's so incredible.
That's Louis showed me the 4th of July movie, what he was editing on his MacBook, and he showed me a cut of it in his apartment, and then he was just talking about making film. He's so smart, dude, and he's so incredibly, he's so talented. It's insane how good we're so lucky to have a guy like Louis.
Yeah,
he's so good. He's so benevolent. He's so generous. He's such a good dude, and but I'll never forget what he said, where he said, you got to find your people and create a cinematic language, and then you don't get rid of them. You work your way up like this.
Not only does this make you and your friends funnier, but I think that if you go about things this way, you can resonate with your fan base so much more than someone who lacks this quality. And although having a forced relationship doesn't necessarily keep you from making great content, I think that it makes things exponentially easier when you actually like the person that you're working with.
For sure, 100%.
I started listening to Lemon Party just for the sake of making this video, but I quickly realized why the fans were so enamored with it. And even though the Tim Dillon show is probably as big as it's ever been, it seems like most of his fans are just casual listeners, kind of like the Joe Rogan experience. Whereas the people that listen to Lemon Party are almost like a community. I guess I'll wrap up this video by saying that it seems like the entertainment industry can be a hollow and depressing place that's filled with shallow people who probably couldn't even make a real friend if they wanted to. But for the people that actually get into it with the best of intentions, I think that eventually you either have to surrender your original idea of what you wanted to do and start playing the game to get ahead, or you can double down, grab the few people around you that you actually like, and try and build a fan base from the ground up.
Yo, big up this guy, man. I really enjoyed this documentary, by the way. Big up this guy. He made a lot of really great points about Ben Avery and Tim Dillon's breakup. It still pains me to this day that they're broken up and not together again. I don't think either needs to apologize and go crazy, but for sure that would be fucking sick. But big up Lemon Party, big up Ben Avery, big up Lemon Party, big up Ben Avery. Cool.